Hello and welcome to the next episode of Splattercat's Indie Shorts. Today we're going to be taking a short look at Galactic Arms Race, a game that I stumbled upon on Desura the other evening, and it's kind of a bullet hell meets Diablo 2-esque loot scooping adventure through space. It's kind of a sandbox in the realm that you can kind of do whatever you want, but there's really not a whole lot of building or world design. Instead, the game acts as a kind of a tech demo, I guess, is the best way that I would describe it. The developers have not designed any of the weapons in this game that you pick up, any of the loot or anything like that. It's all procedurally generated based on what other players have enjoyed, and I think that kind of lends itself to an interesting gameplay aspect. But let's jump in and talk about the varying things that you can do in this game. So what is this game about? Essentially, you are given a fighter and you start out in a big nasty galaxy and you just fly around farming enemies and just killing everything on screen. Now, there are a number of different types of enemies, and there are other things like nebulas and kind of radiation storms and other things you're going to have to contend with before you get through the galaxy. However, for the most part, most of your time is going to be spent blasting enemies just viciously and just turning everything into space dust. Now, at this point, you're probably saying to yourself, Splattercat, that doesn't seem like a great framework for a game. Well, you do get XP for killing enemies, you do level up, there are multiple ships to buy, and there is tons of loot that drops. Kind of the procedurally generated random loot is the best part of the game. It's kind of a grab bag of goodies every single time. So there is always a sense of progression, and there's always the feeling that you're working towards something. Once you get done shoveling loot into your cargo hold, there are friendly space stations throughout every single area. Now, every sector is kind of separated by warp gates, as is standard in games like this, and there are a number of functions you can take care of while you're at these different cities. It's in these stations that you'll be able to change out your ship, upgrade your parts, and manage your weapons, from storage to actually changing the color and the way that your weapons fire. Everything is fully customizable, so if you like playing with sliders, this is definitely a part of the game that's going to be for you. Now, what weapons did Splattercat use? On screen you can see here, I call this one the Chaff, and when enemies run into this it deals damage or it stops their bullets. I also like to use this straight laser that I found. It seems like straight lasers are probably pretty common. And then finally, I've got one that I like to call the swirly. Now, I'd like to emphasize, these are all randomly generated. The designer never made any of these weapons. They just kind of resulted from the game. Now, when you see a node laying around, you can kind of just run up on it, and what you do is you install it to a slot, and as you can see on screen here, it changed the way that the particles fired out of my cannon. Now, if you don't like it, you can just swap your old gun back into the slot, and as you can see, I'm back to my little red lasers, and I decided to salvage that one. And now we come to the part of the short where I tell you whether the game is worth purchasing or not. Now, for me, I don't regret the purchase. I think that the game is largely kind of a tech exhibition. And what I mean by that is that the developers of this game clearly weren't working on a full-fledged game. They were kind of trying to show you ideas, like the weapon evolution system, for example. It seems like they wanted to put a bunch of ideas into kind of a container and then pass it off to someone else and say, this is what you could do with our idea. Now, the game is fully functional as a standalone. I have loads of fun with it. I haven't regretted the purchase at all. It was only $4.99, so for me, I got my money's worth. But for some people, this game just isn't going to do it. The fun of this game is going to be largely derivative of whether you can entertain yourself or not. So if you enjoy games like, say for example, Robotron or Centipede, or you enjoyed Smash TV, not just in a retro sense, but in the sense that you thought those were good games in which they didn't really have a storyline, but you enjoyed dodging bullets, you enjoy just saying, like, kind of seeing how high you can get your score, then you probably will enjoy this game. The weapon system is incredibly diverse. You can customize every aspect of every weapon, from the way it spins to what color it is. The system is a little convoluted, I will admit that. Changing things around with your weapons can be difficult, but if you were good at entertaining yourself with not too many stimuli, then I think you'll be okay with Galactic Arms Race. However, if you prefer to play games in which there's a larger narrative, or there's kind of a driving force to tell you what to do, then I think you would probably want to skip this one. You may not have much fun with it. On the multiplayer aspect, I haven't gotten a chance to play multiplayer. Every time I've logged on, the multiplayer servers have been completely empty, so I'm assuming there's not too much of a community around this game. I really did want to mess around with the PvP, because bullet hell PvP seemed like a lot of fun to me, but you kind of take that with a grain of salt. Don't purchase this game expecting to play multiplayer. Expect to play kind of sandbox or wave-based defense single player. Now, all those things being said, my name is Splattercat. This has been another episode of Indie Shorts, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to like the video, and I will see you guys all next time.